And we are back here for Thursday Thursday tip. Thursday treasure tip Thursdays. Treasure tip Thursday. Daily training is in the house. You're doing a fantastic job with your son, man. I'm so proud of him, proud of you. Eric Daly, just to let you know, Barbara. How you doing, Barbara?
I'm good, thank you. How are you this morning?
Doing awesome. Eric Daly, he's one of the world-class trainers out here. That's his son is doing amazing. He's probably top two people in Florida in basketball.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he's only a sophomore.
Wow.
So he's already getting recruiting letters, and it's due to the hard work that the whole family has put together. What's interesting is that his mother played into basketball. She played for the WNBA. His father played internationally, did very well, very successful, and he played in Texas. He played at TCU.
Oh, fabulous. That is so great.
And
No, go
and
ahead.
and now their son, they're doing a phenomenal job, and he has a unique strategy in what he wants to do with his son. So I can't wait to hear when his son is a senior what's going to be next up. So great to hear and good to see him on here. But once again, this is Treasure Tip Thursdays with my distinguished guest, Miss Barbara Hayley of Hayley Capital, uh, single mom, breast cancer survivor, go getter. She makes it happen, no matter what the circumstances, and want to kind of really incorporate some of your ideology, your strategy. And last week we talked a little bit about the importance of communication and the power of words, and being able to, even if you have a difference of opinion, how to understand from the other person's perspective, right?
That's right. That's right. And it starts with setting the right context or the frame or the
Mm-hmm.
perspective of which you're looking at that lens. If you don't set the perspective right, everybody's looking through a different lens. So
That's right.
that you set that lens stage, however you do that, and say, Joelle, we're going to have this conversation, but here's the lens for which I'm going to have this conversation. And then there's rarely a disagreement, and if it is, it's just to tweak that lens or that perspective. It's when you're competing perspectives where we get in trouble. And so, I've trained 20,000 people across the United States, mostly in Texas, very successfully. And I understand a little bit about that. But let me tag back into basketball for a second and see, any chance Clifford Ray, who was the assistant coach for the Celtics for a long, long time. He coaches the tall guys. It's called the tall guys. Anyway, he's a friend, and his son Everett's at SMU playing. And
Okay.
yeah, and Clifford, when the Rockets were in the playoffs 2 years ago, he's actually best friends with my best friend. Known each
Mm-hmm.
other 25 years. So he was spending time at the house, and we were cooking together and went to see the games because he was coaching the tall guys at the Rockets. And I knew Tom Chambers. I met Tom Chambers at an event in Las Vegas when he was
I
playing.
love Tom Chambers.
Yeah, when he was playing for the Phoenix Suns. And so I met him, and we were good friends. We kind of lost contact, but and then Eric Dickerson and I went to SMU together, and we stayed friends in LA for a very long time. He's from a little town outside of Sealy here. And
Mm-hmm.
and so Eric's doing radio, I believe, and doing really well. So anyway, just wanted to throw a little sports memorabilia in there for a minute.
There you go, Clifford Ray. I have to look him up. So he played with the Bulls from 71 to 74. And then he played with the Golden State Warriors.
That's
He's a
right.
big, he's a big man coach, huh?
Yeah, he's a big man coach. Tall, they call it the tall guys, and he's in Florida. But he spent time with us when he was here at the Rockets, and so we cooked together, and he was at the house, and it was fun. It was really fun talking about those old times of basketball.
Yeah, that old school basketball back then, they didn't have guarantee, they didn't have those type of contracts that they have now,
No,
that's for sure.
no. And I played state basketball in high school. So
Did you
my
really?
daughter, yeah, I put a ball in my daughter's hand when she was 2, and she was all state as a sophomore playing. She was the first person ever to play varsity in our school as a freshman. And she was
Wow.
our third highest three-pointer in the state. so she could pop those three, six, seven, eight threes in a game. Yeah,
Woo!
yeah. So
Nice. Like
yeah.
I didn't know you had basketball in you, girl.
Oh man, I love basketball. So when she was little, I would get her out there and shoot and play, and obviously, do as much as I could with her. Yeah, no basketball. Love basketball.
Awesome, awesome. So what do we want to talk about today? What treasure tip that we have for today to share with folks? Once again, we know what the economic circumstances are. Some states are opening up. Still hard to get um, unemployment benefits, and we got the second wave of the Payment Relief Act. But what I like to do is kind of really target our focus in a conversation in with folks that own like strip malls,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Folks that own strip malls that have these different businesses. A lot of these restaurants are really, I mean, just recently in Florida, there's a restaurant called Gator Dockside that just said that they're not opening up their doors anymore, which is tragic, right? Because they have employees. There's a lady up in New York, Melba's restaurant. She basically had to lay off several people, and she had one of her employees has a daughter, that's like 2 years old, and she's wondering where her money's going to come from. So, I kind of want to start with the discussion of folks that own these large strip malls. What are your thoughts, or in terms of some solution sets that we can help them with in terms of ideas and strategies, and then kind of incorporating kind of like the trickle down effect of, what can a person like that single mother that used to work at Melba's restaurant, she only has 3 more months left and she doesn't know where her next meal and money's going to come from to pay for rent. What can we do about that?
Yeah, let me address that. I'm going to say a couple of things first. I want to set the perspective. So for shopping center owners, I would say the first thing, be kind to your tenants. Even though you're under a lot of pressure, be kind to these people, because if you're not kind to them, there's ways out of this, and they may just bolt. So you want to get your money for your rent, and you understand the situation, but you got to be kind to people. So no threats. Just don't threaten people, even if they can't pay or don't pay. Just don't threaten people. Don't let that become who you are inside of that conversation. So that's number one. Then from what I do, let me talk about what I would do. And I just sent an email to the largest developer in San Antonio yesterday, which are clients of mine. And their one client has $1 billion portfolio, and
Mm-hmm.
I know they have buildings and they have shopping centers, massive, big, $230 million of those really nice shopping centers. And I said, all right, guys, here's where I think you've got competing priorities, and I understand that. So put this in somewhere in potentially for you to look at. So if I look at a cost segregation study on a shopping center, that's one thing. But those tenants, whoever paid that tenant improvement in that shopping center, whether it's the owner of the shopping center, but maybe the tenant, there's potential value depending on how much they spent, how many years they've been in there. But there's potential value that we could get for them right away in a tax benefit. So we can
Mm.
go in and do small cost segregations. And I've got some software that's designed for some of that small tenant improvement. A lot of the cost segregation firms don't look at $100 or $200 or $300,000 tenant improvement. It's not an area that I'm completely focused on, but I can do, especially in times of need like this. So I'd be willing to refocus some of my team members to go and put those studies together for them. So I would say there's tenants inside that would help them be able to pay the rent or part of the rent if they could get some tax relief from that perspective. There's other tax reliefs that they potentially can do too. This would be an added addition. The other thing is, if they did a tenant improvement from 2018, 2019, the rules were different. The legislation just changed 3 weeks ago. So if that legislation they decide to do with their CPA, and their CPA can do this, It's unclear yet whether they have to file an amended return. In other words, it went from 39 years straight line, which I know we're kind of cutting it without giving the big picture, but your listeners have heard a little bit. So it went from 39 year to 15 year, and a CPA can do that without me. But a CPA would probably have to file an amended return to do that. And I can bring that 39 year to 15 year and even down to 5 year the tax benefit without filing an amended return. So
Mm.
that might be the difference. So whether they use me or another cost segregation firm, there's a form that we complete that allows us to make changes on commercial property without amending the returns. So we partner with these CPAs. So I might even suggest, if a CPA firm has a lot of shopping center clients, give us a call. Let us know what we can do to help support your firm in getting them access without amending those returns. So they would do small cost segregation in their tenant improvement, minimum of 100,000. If they put 100,000 in it, and then we could utilize some new technology, the new legislation, without amending the return. So that's a pretty good start. And then
Mm-hmm.
and then you asked about the mom that has the children, what to do. From what I know in Texas, the unemployment, and I would assume it's everywhere, you may be seeing that you're not getting an unemployment benefit, and you may be seeing that the numbers aren't right. Just do what you're supposed to do, whether if there's inconsistent messaging in your unemployment software, because it's not designed for times like this. You may have seen that letter, but you may have forgotten about it. Just keep doing what you're supposed to do, because I've had several clients that I said, keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, and then the money came. So it'll come. And they're suggesting don't file appeals because that bogs down the system. They know that the system didn't allow you to answer the questions the right way. So they're given a minimum amount, but the $600 is coming automatically. So even if you get anywhere from 200 to 400 a week, there's $600 attached on top of that. So you could be getting 1,000 a week. So just go to your unemployment, file it. If you're 1099, if you're W-2, if you are commission only, if you're a sole proprietor, go file that unemployment, and then just do what you're supposed to do every 2 weeks as far as submitting a claim.
What about uh, one of my buddies, John Hope Bryant? He has a company called Operation Hope. It's a nonprofit. He partners up with banks to help folks with financial literacy, and as well as helping individuals, help them get their first homes, things of that nature. And it was him. It was Melody Hobson from Ariel Capital, the CEO of Ariel Capital, and it was a third person. I forgot her name. And they had a discussion about, how COVID is really affecting the urban areas and being detrimental. And what can they do? One of the things that Melody mentioned was the importance of having conversations with your bill collectors, with your debt folks. And do you have some insights on what you can share with folks if they are in debt? Some of the relief that's in the CARES Act. How can they still maintain some form of respect and being able to do what they can in paying their bills, even though they have little resources?
Well, what I'm hearing is to reach out. Sometimes you can't get them on the phone, so find a way to get online and reach out to them and work out a payment plan or work out something. I mean, the bills are going to be due. So the one thing is, you don't want to allow too many bills to be moved forward if you can help it, because then they're all going to come due. And there's going to be a time in which there's not going to be this flexibility to not be able to pay. But I certainly know that the fees, watch your fees on your cable accounts and your phone bills. My understanding is they're not charging late fees if you're late. And I read, if you've got an apartment, because my daughter had her Washington, D.C. apartment, she moved in January, but she still had her Lynchburg apartment because she got a job in D.C. in January unexpectedly. So we sublet that apartment out, but then the girl had to leave the university. So she paid April, but then May is due, and I'm paying 2 apartments in Washington, and I mean 2 apartments, one in Washington, Lynchburg, and then my own bills. So I read where the college students that are stuck with these apartments, there is a act of God clause that you can't use the apartment. right? So
Mm-hmm.
they don't know if COVID's going to work, but it certainly is a potential argument for having it work. So I would recommend, if you've got a rent, look and see in your clause and see if you've got an act of God or any kind of clause, because you really are prevented from utilizing that apartment or that space potentially, if you need to move out or whatever. So there's just, go look at your fees, try to get those waived. And if you see them on your account, get those waived. Try to keep from having heavy fees and work out something, you know, with people, individual. But just know that they're going to come due at some point. So try to pay what you can now and get on your feet as fast as you can. And, you know, we're tired probably. So you want to keep building a muscle for getting out there and making things happen. And don't worry that you've done 10 things to try to make something happen and nothing has happened. Don't always equate that action with a result always. So you might do 10 things over here and nothing happens. And then over here, 5 things come through.
Mm-hmm.
So I try not to, because what happens when you say, okay, I did 10 things, nothing worked, nothing's going to work. Don't have that position.
Right.
I do try not, because then you squeeze the life because there's a desperation. And sometimes you just got to get on your knees and pray for no desperation. You got to turn that desperation over. You got to you do the actions, but you turn the worry and the desperation over and you let that go and you just keep doing it every day. What do I need to do today? Not what do I need to do tomorrow so much. What do I need to do today? What do I need to do today? And then you build a muscle for today, and tomorrow takes care of tomorrow when you've built a muscle for today.
I'm happy you mentioned that. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into with that because it is important. Is activity creates opportunities,
Yes.
right? And through opportunities creates income and things of that nature. So with that being said, how does one discover how their gifts can become income, right?
Mm.
So we got about 5 minutes. So I'm challenging you, but I want to push the envelope because I want people to take advantage of this Treasure Tip Thursday. In that, yes, things are very hard. Things are are definitely in a very horrible situation. However, now's the time to figure out, you know, what am I really good at, and how do I convert what I'm good at into income? Could you share anything, any tips that you can have in regards to that?
Yeah, sure. So that might not be discovered by your activities as much as your attitude. So when you put the right attitude on, the activities tend to flow right with that attitude. And I would say, if you're a small business owner or want to be a small business owner, find a list. Maybe you've got past clients, maybe you've got some referral partners. Maybe get on the phone and just leave voicemails for people. Just leave them some, hey man, I'm just checking on you. Wanted to just send a blessing your way today. Get good at picking up the phone and calling people and leaving a voicemail. Because in sales, it's essential that you learn to communicate. And that's a great way to communicate. Or drop some emails. Say, hey, no need to respond. Not asking for, just wanted to send you a blessing today. So maybe reach out.
I love what you said. That's huge. That's huge. So let's set aside your small business owner.
Yeah.
I want to get back to I'm creating the perspective. I'm creating the frame, right? The context, and I want the context to be about a person that's unemployed, whether it's that single mom that has a kid and they're stressing, whether it's an individual that just lost their job and they're wondering how they're going to pay their bills. I, how can you now bring what you said as a strategy into how they can generate income?
And well, you gotta let yourself free. You really gotta let yourself free. And you just reminded me, I meant to look for this book. I've got a little book written by a pastor that I got about 9 years ago, and it really changed. It was during a tough time in my business because my daughter, was so busy with her and I couldn't focus on my productivity. And the blessing of harvesting and saving for your harvest. So this is a little counter to it than making money. Get an envelope, put harvest or storehouse, and put $1 in it. Put 75 cents. My first one, I put $1. I was struggling so much financially because my everything that was going on. And I put $1 in this envelope, and I was grateful to have that dollar. And I prayed over that dollar, and he said, it's not the dollar, it's the principle. Thank you, God, for that dollar. And so I put the dollar in there. I'll find the book and I'll have it, I'll show it in the next session. But thank you for that. It's called the storehouse principle. That's what it is, the storehouse principle. So save $1 in order to make 10,000. Put your trust in yourself and in God and in our country, that you're going to be okay, and set your worries aside and just put your trust. So that's really how you're going to make money. You got to set all the negativity and all this pressure aside. It's hard to do, but I've been there. So I know what I'm talking about. I've had $1 to put in an envelope and no more than $1. All right. So put that dollar in there, and the principle of, I'm going to save this dollar and don't touch it. And then when you have $10, put $10 in there. And that money in that envelope tends to equate to money out there that grows. It grows because there's a faith of it growing. So it's a little conceptual versus an actual practical something to do. But I would say on this session, this interview, let's start with that right there.
I love that, because it's the principle of sowing and reaping. Right? It's the principle of sowing and reaping, and just having that indomitable faith to say, you know what, I don't know where this is going to come from, but guess what? It's going to work, and we're praying on this. You know, whatever your belief system is, but it's so important, and I love that you said that. And then from that, the activity is, after you do the dollar in the envelope, and this is your storehouse, make phone calls just to say, hey, I just want to touch base. I just want to be a blessing. Hope all is well. And even that Budweiser commercial with my boy D Nice and D Wade and Chris Bosh, like, what's up? So that's, I mean, just to bring joy to someone's ears and into their heart, and just kind of keep doing that. So you don't have to dial for dollars, but you're dialing for relationships, and you're dialing just to touch base, and eventually something will come about. But first, put that dollar in that envelope. I love that. Put the
and
dollar in that.
I still have my storehouse, and I put a 50 or 100. I keep storing it for the principle of it, not for the amount of money that's in there, but for the principle of it, to be a blessing and be blessed by that principle.
Excellent. Well, once again, this is Treasure Tip Thursdays with Barbara Hayley at Hayley Capital. Great tips, and next week we'll have the one pager on that website. So if you are interested on the website, just go to bit.ly/Treasure Tip Thursday, and you should see Hayley Capital, the one page website, where we'll have some tips in there for you. See you next week.
See you. Bye bye. Thank you.